Hello, welcome to Virtual Concert Hall's live music channel. My name is Chris Au, and I have with me the co-founder of Virtual Concert Halls, Dr. Anna Ouspenskaya. Welcome.
Chris, thank you very much for welcoming me, and I'm really happy to be co-hosting this program and starting a journey of exploring Symphony No. 7.
That's correct. This is part one of the very exciting documentary of Beethoven's Symphony No. 7. We're really proud to start this new journey on this new symphony, quote-unquote new, written and narrated by Lawrence Rapchak, created by New Media Productions Worldwide and Virtual Concert Halls, as well as produced by the Architects of Music.
And we're so grateful for this incredible collaboration with wonderful people and wonderful organizations, which has been possible because we all share a tremendous passion to be connecting musicians and audiences in real-time programs, films, projects, and many different presentations from around the globe.
I imagine that anyone listening now to this isolated excerpt will react pretty much the same as they would hearing it as part of the complete Seventh Symphony. What in the world is it about? What's going on? But it passes by, and once the first movement Allegro gets underway, and certainly by the time the thrilling finale has ended, I doubt anyone will even remember this passage. It comes very early in the work, and it is very curious and intriguing. The seventh is the only one of Beethoven's last 5 symphonies to open with a slow introduction, and this one is long and complex. You recall he had swept aside the traditional slow introduction in the 3rd symphony, but as we've seen, he began the 4th with a most unusual slow introduction, and I'm sure you've listened to that episode by now. And I feel the same sort of creative impulse is at work here in the 7th. It's difficult to pin down, but it is fascinating. And just as in the 4th Symphony, I feel that Beethoven's big introduction to the 7th establishes, defines, it sets before us a sort of overview of the creative universe in which Beethoven and this music exist. Energy, the property of matter that causes motion, or the interaction of molecules. The motion may contract, it may slow down, it may accelerate. And Beethoven's matter needs some minimal musical representation, some sound. You have to hear something. So we have the most basic rudimentary sound, a single pitch, E, in 3 octaves, and its substance, its mass, is being articulated, delineated at regular mathematically calculated points, resulting in longer notes, shorter notes, and silence. And the mathematical frequency of the notes organizes them into rhythmic groupings, into patterns, some static, others more active, the interaction of molecules in space. There's one flute and one oboe on the one hand, and the first and second violins on the other. They're all playing the pitch E in octaves, all suspended in silence. They must represent something other than mere music to amuse and entertain us. It must be something far beyond that. And when I finally decided to think about this passage some years ago, I read about some of the things that fascinated Beethoven and were meaningful to him. For instance, his early and ongoing interest in the philosopher Immanuel Kant. And when we get to the final 15 years of Beethoven's life, we learn that he recorded his thoughts, some mundane, some more abstract, theoretical, some meditative, in his Tagebuch, or daily book, a diary of sorts. And there we find not only his musings on Kant, but also on the mysticism of Eastern philosophy and religion. Who? Beethoven? He wrote in his diary, quote, "The two things that fill the soul with new and ever-increasing wonder," quoting Kant, "the moral law within us and the starry sky above us." The matter from which the inhabitants of different planets, even animals and plants, are made, has to be of a much lighter and finer kind, and their structure all the more perfect to the extent they are further from the sun, that the excellence of thinking creatures, the swiftness of their imaginations, that on the planets from Mercury to Uranus and even beyond, the perfection of the spiritual world grows and proceeds according to their distance from the sun. Beethoven copied this passage from Kant into his diary? Or these translations from the sacred Hindu Rig Veda? "He, the mighty one, is present in every part of space. You are the true, unchangeable light of all time and spaces." Beethoven? Of space expanded and of endless time, before spheres beneath us rolled, or spheres above, before the earth in firmamental ether hung. Beethoven. Time, space, the nature of divinity. For years on his desk, he kept a copy of 3 ancient Egyptian inscriptions, which Friedrich Schiller had quoted in his 1791 essay, The Mission of Moses. "I am that which is. I am everything that is, that was, and that will be." Beethoven kept these inscriptions under glass on his desk. But what did all of this have to do with the actual creation of his music? Maybe nothing. Maybe a great deal. I feel that Beethoven's Seventh Symphony is, in ways, a successor to the Sixth, beyond its numerical order. The Sixth is, of course, a nature symphony, sometimes very literally, but more often it's a representation of nature's earthly effect on man, including its religious and spiritual aspects. The Seventh, I feel, continues and expands Beethoven's spiritual world into a far more abstract, metaphysical realm. And our awareness of Beethoven's far-reaching interests, scientific, religious, philosophical, makes it difficult for me to believe that these things were not explored in some way in this new work. A musical compendium, a celebration of the nature of rhythm and energy in sound, of course in the form of a standard 4-movement symphony. The lengthy, slow introduction is in 2 roughly parallel halves, and it features 2 themes that do not appear anywhere else in the work. Beethoven presents the first of these 2 themes right off the bat. It's a gentle pastoral tune in long notes, played by the oboe. It's continued by the clarinet. Nothing very cosmic about that, except that Beethoven is actually writing music that functions on 2 different planes or levels of sound. The serene woodwind pastoral that floats in one dimension, sort of in the background, and the brilliant shafts of sound that rain down around it. The music descends. It's solemn. but it begins to reanimate. With rising triads in the violins and violas, the pastoral reappears. And the pastoral, now majestic, powered by the ascending strings. And we hear the second theme of this introduction, also something of a nature theme. There's the subdominant harmony. And now the strings will repeat the theme, but listen to the woodwinds. The quick repeated notes that re-energize this lyrical music. The energy increases, it persists, it expands. And the opening theme, again, declamatory, with rising strings all around. And again, the lovely second theme is heard. Now it's in the key of F major, the pastoral symphonies key. And again, as this theme repeats, those repeated 16th notes, the quick notes, are back, filtering in high and low, starting, there they are, and now high, low, and high. The volume, the intensity increase. And even though this is just an extended block of F major, the frequency of all these repeated notes increases. And F major suddenly becomes a unison E. A stunning moment, like a blinding flash of light. And now rhythm, the articulation and delineation of sound, of matter, rhythm, will take over. The opening pastoral is recalled like a chorale, but again, the brilliant flash of pure, distilled rhythm dominates. Then the note is E, of course. It's all E all the time. The note E is needed at this point only as a means of defining the metric divisions of sound in the void. It also happens to be the dominant note, E, of the key of A major, the main key of the symphony and our ultimate destination. And we have now arrived at that landmark passage with which we began. It emerges, it evolves from everything that we've heard that leads up to it. And Beethoven, musical master of the universe, muses on the nature of matter, the interaction of molecules that creates energy and motion. Isn't that what we're actually hearing, experiencing in this passage, in the space around us, as these fragments now begin to coalesce into an atom, a cell, a unit of energy?
Yeah, sometimes you're just left speechless by what Larry has to share.
This is, I believe, one of Larry's absolute masterpiece openings of analysis to Beethoven's symphonies.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots to talk about, but there's also so much just to absorb, I think, as a listener, right?
Exactly. And Larry's unique approach, which I absolutely love, even if someone doesn't share it with me, I still love it, is to see the whole and see the small components of the whole.
It's true, yeah.
How he's able to absorb and look way past beyond the structures into what Beethoven was conveying. He's phenomenal by that time. He was a matured, accomplished composer, and his tools were really fully dedicated to what he planned to convey. Now, we're doing basically backwards investigation there,
Yeah.
going from the language which Beethoven applies in his symphonies to deeper and deeper in spiral to the core of what it is he's trying to say. And the way Larry
Right.
approaches the research and brings in elements. I mean, you can read so much about Beethoven, you can just bury yourself in all the information. Thankfully, there's a lot preserved. And of course, Larry goes through all of it or everything that's available. But then how do you bring into your analysis the things which are the most important for the understanding? So as an analyst, Mr. Rapchak finds that unique path from the language, from the components, from the structures, step by step to the core of what all that is supposed to convey and according to Beethoven's own intention. And of course, some of the information he brings to the table may be completely unknown to people. That Beethoven was interested in, different philosophies at the time, and some of those kept handy. So
That's the thing that I find that is really interesting, because nowadays we have pieces that are written and it's so clear. We have the composer's notes. We have maybe even the title of the piece is something programmatic. And unlike the Sixth Symphony, which Larry actually calls the Nature Symphony, there's no programmatic notes. There's nothing. He just writes in, the expressive markings and all that. And yet there's so much to dissect. And so what I love is that Beethoven's is not trying to allude to anything specific. Yet, if you want to dive deeper into what Beethoven was reading, he was looking at, he had 3 Egyptian inscriptions that Schiller had quoted, I am that which is, I am everything that is, that was, it is to be. That is very much sort of like the definition of an omnipresent, omniscient God. And we also have hints towards the Hindu religion, and we knew that he was writing and reading a lot about Immanuel Kant. So that can inform us, but it doesn't take away, or it's not necessary in order for us to appreciate the symphony. And I think that's where Larry draws a really good line. If I'm getting what you're saying correctly, is that you don't need all of that to appreciate the symphony, yet there's so much he does that allows us to appreciate it maybe even more.
Absolutely. Appreciating the symphony even more, because we're just starting the journey, and that particular section of the symphony can be puzzling. It's very emotionally impactful when you listen to the whole symphony in the live performance or in the recording, because it's just a break in the tissue of the music, and definitely is a very exceptionally important segment. But what is Beethoven trying to say in here? With the information about Beethoven's reading and his intellectual explorations and his spiritual explorations, the explanation can be very personal and individual, but coming from information about Beethoven himself, it's to me at least, it's very important, and it brings me closer together to Beethoven as a person, as a living composer, as opposed to dead old man, to see through all that what he might have actually intended.
Yeah, and what we talked a lot about, because this is produced by the architects of music, and we talk a lot about what Larry Rapchak does, which is he provides a lot of building blocks, right, in order to build these buildings, which are the symphony, the Magnificent Nine, and I think if certain symphonies were maybe a cathedral or something like that, I actually think that this, and you feel free, the audience or yourself, Dr. Anna, to correct me, but I feel like this symphony may be the structure of an observatory, where you actually are using this building to observe space, observe the stars, observe the galaxy above us, and to look at what is out there. And my final point that links to this is that I think the reason Beethoven's music is so relatable and so such a prevalent and important, yeah, an important part of our humanity is that he's not just describing feelings. He's not just describing, heartbreak or something, which I guess is very universal still, but he's describing the universe, something deeper within us, something maybe of a metaphysical, molecular structure within our human existence. And yet he's using music to do it. He's using rhythm, he's using notes, he's using harmonies, using scales. He never goes away from these scales, right? In that sort of build, there's always these scales going up. And he doesn't do anything crazy, but yet these are the building blocks to something phenomenal, which we're about to explore. He's just talking about the introduction to the rest of that first movement, which is already incredible, and there's so much more left to come.
Absolutely. Can't wait to participate with you, Chris, in watching together and commenting on the next segment, which is coming soon. So that'll be a big treat. I was part of creating the film together with the Virtual Controls team of film creators. So I know more about what's coming, and I anticipate it, of course. But for our viewers, I envy you, because it's to be the first time you're watching this film in chapters, and I assure you, you're in for a great treat. This particular analysis, I believe, is one of the absolute masterpieces of Larry Rapchak's.
Yeah, I think what's really, for me, this is my first time viewing it. So for those who are watching this for the first time, I felt I'm with you. And I'll react to this with you. And what's really fascinating for me is that as a musician, you know these pieces by ear, but to really know that from the score, from the all these other elements, it really enriches your experience, and it doesn't make it make it less enjoyable to actually know more about it. It actually makes it even more admirable. And so as you're discovering this, I hope you'll write in the comments perhaps and interact with us to show us, what you discovered, and maybe certain things that really appeal to you, because I think it's such an incredible piece of music, and also the documentary. And with that, I really want to thank our team and collaborators who make this happen. So we have amazing Larry Rapchak, of course, but there's also the New Media Production, Virtual Concert Halls team, the Architects of Music, who build all this together. Not only do they put the graphics and all this together, but they also make this show come to life. And this is just a fantastic way to appreciate music more and more deeply.
And yes, and I want to thank you, Chris, also for being a part of this show, and
pleasure.
for sharing the hosting with me. It's so much better to do together, and that's another thing which Beethoven is so powerful. He brings people together for sharing experience, and I hope everyone who is watching is also enjoying to share the experience. And please do share your comments on any platform where you, whichever platform you enjoy more. We are live streaming on all of them. If Vimeo is your favorite and you don't like YouTube, we are there too. And we are also extremely grateful for our collaborations with many, many organizations and incredible people who lead those organizations, which are sharing their expertise, their resources, their time, their ideas, and they help us produce this program and many other programs. We have series of programs on our many channels, and that's definitely thanks to many, many people who are collaborating with us in this project.
Yeah, and this is just such a great way to appreciate music and musicians more. We have amazing shows, more to come, obviously. And thank you for joining us. If you would like to see more of our shows, please like and subscribe. This is just part 1. So we have so many more parts to share with you with Beethoven 7. So we'll see you next time for part 2 of our Beethoven 7 documentary series.
Stay with us.
Bye.
Bye now.